Can we all stop pretending that LSU is overrated? Can we stop pretending that this team isn't talented enough to make it to the college football playoffs? This is one of the 5 best teams entering this upcoming college football season. I mean, they are loaded absolutely everywhere. If your argument against LSU is, well, they went really heavy in the transfer portal and teams that are dependent on the transfer portal heavily normally don't have that much success. LSU is not a team that success has been built off what they do in the portal. On average, under Brian Kelly, they have recruited the 6th best class every single season under him. The transfer portal, what LSU did this offseason was them trying to capitalize what they already brought back based off how well they have recruited. And when you have a team like what LSU has this year, it makes sense to go all in like what they did on the portal, because if you can hit on a few high-level guys and you mix that with the high-level guys that you already bring back, like Garrett Nussmeier entering his 2nd season as a starter, you have a healthy Harold Perkins along with linebacker Whit Weeks, who comes off a breakout season, and you combine that with guys like Nick Anderson and Barrion Brown, Patrick Payton, you end up having a team that mixed with the guys they recruited and mixed with the guys that they got out of the transfer portal ends up being so loaded that it makes it hard for them not to make it to the playoffs. A lot has to go wrong for LSU this year for them to at least not win 9 games. 9 wins gets LSU into the playoffs this year. The committee already wanted to put in a 9-win team last year, but the losses that those 9-win teams suffered were just so bad that they couldn't put them in. If Alabama never lost to Oklahoma and Ole Miss never lost to Kentucky or got upset by Florida, if they would have won those games, they would have been in the playoffs. If those losses would have came to ranked teams, they still would have gotten in because the committee favors strength of schedule. But the strength of schedule argument didn't benefit Alabama and Ole Miss due to the losses that they sustained against inferior opponents. LSU, with how difficult their schedule is, even if you do lose to Clemson in week 1, you still have a larger margin for error to get into the playoffs. If you don't want the starting quarterback of your favorite team to play like Anthony Richardson, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check us out, JT Sports, on all podcasting platforms. Give us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Let's get back to the video. Then what Alabama and Ole Miss had last season due to how difficult your schedule is. So even with 3 losses, if you get wins over Alabama or any other of the ranked teams that you play, as long as you don't lose to some of the worst teams on your schedule, 9 wins gets you into the playoffs this year. But I think that realistically, LSU should go 10-2. Garrett Nussmeier should follow the similar trend that we saw Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow fall in line in when they balled out in their 2nd seasons. They won the Heisman Trophy, and they got drafted high in the NFL draft. Yeah, he had a bunch of turnovers, but turnovers are something that can be improved. And with LSU hopefully being a lot better at running the football this season, you won't have as much on Garrett Nussmeier's play this season compared to last year. You also have Garrett Nussmeier throwing to one of the best receiving corps in all of college football. How is your offensive line going to look? That's the biggest question about LSU this year. But if we flip over to defense, Blake Baker enters year 2, and this defense was drastically better in his first season than what it was the year before. Do you want to know why LSU, despite having a team with Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr., didn't make it to the playoffs? How about when you have the worst defense in the history of your program? That's an easy way to miss the playoffs. When you got to drop 45, 50 points on everybody you play to win, of course you're not going to get into the playoffs. With Blake Baker being in his second season as LSU's defensive coordinator, this easily should be a playoff caliber defense. They should be top 50 or better with what they bring back with Harold Perkins and Wilt Weeks, and what they return or what they got out of the transfer portal on the defensive line and in the secondary. This is the most talented team that LSU has had since they last won a national championship 6 years ago in 2019. You may not trust Brian Kelly, but Brian Kelly has been coaching for 21 years. He's been coaching for longer than a lot of us have been alive watching this sport. And he's won 70% of his games. He's won at Notre Dame. He's won at Cincinnati. He's proven that if you give him a team as talented as what LSU is this season, he can maximize it and he can get you to 10 wins and into the playoffs. Can you win a national championship with Brian Kelly? I don't know. I don't believe that you can, but can he get you close to attaining that goal? He definitely can get you in striking distance. If you are high on James Franklin, you should be high on Brian Kelly. Neither one of these dudes are fantastic coaches, but they both have great stacked teams entering this season that kind of makes it completely foolproof for them not to make it to the playoffs unless they just completely bomb. And Brian Kelly isn't a bad enough coach to flame out and get fired. At worst, LSU is a 9-3 team, and they sneak into the playoffs as the 12th or 11th seed. At best, this could be a team that completely runs the table, and they finish 12-0. They go into the SEC championship game undefeated, and depending on who they play, whether it be Texas, Alabama, or Georgia, they got a good chance of winning the conference. So for LSU this year, I don't see this team disappointing. We got to stop acting as if LSU doesn't have the firepower to win the SEC, to make it to the playoffs, and to possibly contend for the national championship.